Hey, Laura J. here on August 17th, 2025, with a message about relativity. We've been told within this reality that everything is relative. But did we ever make the correlation between relativity and the relatives that we have because of the titles that we adopt when we are born into a family structure? I've been talking a lot privately with people in my reality about this concept and how every title makes us then feel entitled with entitlements that bring us into false identities. Because instead of being me, now I am a sister, daughter, partner, friend, granddaughter, cousin, niece. Those titles change my identity as me into now that which I am in relation to another. And the same is true for an employer or employee. All of these entrapments draw us into the public instead of allowing us to maintain privacy within the private. And so what is in my heart is private until I share it with another who can then make it public. And it's important for us to be aware of the fact the debt system is actually the double entry booking trust system, where we trust someone to care for us and what is ours as if they had the same investment into it as what we do. We trust them to care for us when we don't care for ourselves or can't, because we don't feel qualified or equipped to do so. And the only way to change that is by doing it in order to gain the skills and the lived experience in order for us to know that yes, we can do that. Now I have the proof of lived experience to say yes, I can. So I want you to breathe that in. And I want you to consider what this message means to you, for you, and what you're going to do about it and with it. I would love to be able to connect with you and actually go deeper. And I've been challenged in my own life around all of the information that I've just spent the last 2.5 years gathering, plus the 5 that I've been applying it while also gathering the backstory behind it to support it. What I've done recently is actually put public officials on notice in their private capacity. I've done that over the last 5 years consistently since understanding the mixed wars between the public and private. But why I bring this into this message now is because I think it's very important for us to actually talk about karma. Karma being a mark backwards in spelling. And this is where we see the letters of mark or the letters of commission, the ways that we received the right to actually steal on behalf of the souverain that puts us under the true queen by that definition in French as to the word breakdown in English. If we receive a letter of commission, we become a privateer. And a privateer is one who was private before then stepping into the public in order to work on behalf of the one they got a piece of the pie for bringing them the profits that they took. And bindings and loosings are important from the double entry booking trust system because that's the spiritual version of debts and credits. And if you want to know more about this, I've been preparing content to be able to share it. But I haven't felt content to share that which I am still putting into order as I get my own house in order and use that which I am wanting to share with others, but not wanting to lead over trapdoors that we don't see as a trap until the floor is going out from under us because it wasn't as solid as we thought, which is precisely what I believe to be true of PMAs as well as natural law. Those two are already coined, and every coin has a face as the tail, or a head and a tail. And the tail is the one that we tell, connected to the head that is on the other side of that tail. Heads and tails on a coin. Coined ideas, same thing. So in relation to the people that I have put on notice in their private capacity, what is important to recognize is that karma is where we cause another harm and then we either clear it between us of the charge energetically that is accrued because we caused another harm, or we profess it to someone that is in a professional position that makes us feel like we've cleared the waters and cleared the air and cleared our conscience of the misstep that the other is still holding on to, which means it may have cleared on our side, but not on theirs. Because when we talk to somebody else, but the problem is over here that we're talking about, how could we possibly think that it's actually cleared? Well, that's what the church has always told us. And now with the popularity of counseling and therapy, then when we talk to our therapist, we don't have to actually resolve it with the one that caused the issues, which sometimes that is an impossibility where we can't see the I am possible in that. So why we are talking about karma in relation to putting these people on notice is because karmically, this is how we have had to come back into, or got to come back into, this experience of being us as individuated expressions of the grand overall designer that created all of us, all of life. It created us, who then created things. The res publica of the republic is the public thing or the public affair that makes us share that which is private to then become public, so that it could be used against us. For we are the ones that always bring our conscience with us, not the con of science with the $sign through the S, but our true conscience, that which is able to guide us and direct us and help us know what is in alignment with our soul, our essence, and what will take us away from that. And so the people that I have put on notice in their private capacity, when I was dealing with the summons I got in 2021 for speaking at a rally, and then was delivered it 2.5 weeks later at home, where my grandpa answered the door and then called for me to come because there was a police officer at the door. That experience was a trip and a half, let me tell you. And it was where I learned about the mixed war between the public and private. And it's also where we hear the noise in the distance, the music, and we might not get tomorrow, which is why we need to actually clear the waters here now between us who have the issues, instead of trusting others to be confided into and then it cleared when it wasn't. That is how we step into these public positions and then cause harm to those that are just on the other side of an order that we had to fill, or a prescription to fill, where we were prescripted to do things in a certain way based on the scribes of the day. But that days of the days where we are confused and blinded by what we thought we had to do is how we have been choosing to muddy the waters between us who came here to clear those waters, to clear the airs, to actually be prepared to own our shit, which is our own acts. Not just the facts, but to know what we did or didn't do and how that impacted another who was harmed or had fraud caused against them because of what we were bought into that made them buy into it too. Which is why social currency matters so much, and why we have a responsibility to stop trying to hold those that have been causing us harm to account without looking at the three pointing back at me. So with the summons that I got, I mentioned because I made a claim against the man acting as prosecutor for bringing a false claim into a public court against me, but the court systems wouldn't file it. And so that is sat and stayed open because the one who was helping me at that point know what I did to be able to do what I did knew that man and was a friend and wouldn't cause harm to his friend by pushing this forward, or didn't want to. And I respected that because I respected the man who helped me, who is my friend. So friends help friends. And that's why the friends of the court are the ones who will report false records for the sake of protecting the house they work for and on behalf of and gain their identity from. And what I have realized is that this is how we cause harm to one another, by creating charges between us energetically that we don't clear, or we ask another to clear for us, but it doesn't actually resolve that which wasn't solved in the first place. So, I have dropped the matter with the claim made back then, and yet, under the common law that is unwritten, unlimited, and unspecified until we write it, anything can be brought back up when we decide to. There is no closing of accounts. If we see there is a wrong and then call for remedy to be brought to the matter, that we put into writing so then we can write it. And so without it being a threat to the man that has been causing people harm for over 25 years as a prosecutor, that had a claim made in a public court by me that they thought I'd just go away, and I did for a time. And now with the woman acting as Registrar General of Canada and the one who works for the Registrar General of Ontario that I don't have the name for, but that has been put on notice, which actually means no one was put on notice, since it is the holder of the title that actually assumes liability. But if it is the title put on notice, then there is no one actually to account for that which is a title, not an account. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, or if it does, I'd love to hear your comments down below. But why this is so huge is because essentially what we have an opportunity to do now is to stop persecuting one another, to stop blaming one another, to stop complaining about one another, and to instead actually remedy that which is a problem, that which is causing harm, that which is causing loss, that which is a participation in fraud. And to continue giving the nod to it is to actually put our soul on the line. Because if we sell our soul to the devil of lived backwards in order to get material things at the end of our life, we will find that we have nothing to bring with us, and our soul cannot leave the place where harm was caused to others without remedy. And so instead of perpetuating this cycle of suffering that samsara is said to be, why not actually start remedying it? Why not actually get real? Socrates was killed because he was accused of impiety, corrupting the minds of Athens' youth, and worshipping false gods to what the Romans decreed were the ones he needed to worship, under a worship that would have corrupted his conscience, which he referred to as his daemon. So, Damon was the name of the devil character in two of my tales that I have told over the last 5-6 years since my world got pretty crazy. For a variety of reasons that I have spoke to, but if you're new to me or this message, then you won't be aware of yet, and that's okay. You've got over 1,300 videos on my YouTube channel that you'd be able to go back and see over the last decade that I've been posting them there, where my online identity became more important to me in some ways than my real life because of how I felt I was adding value and significance to the online community at the expense of my real life. And if we go to the notion of what is real and unreal, like Socrates was about, that's essence versus form. And if I inform you of something, then you'll be fixed with that which I dictated to you. And I don't wish that to be true, because what I know is that you knew in your heart what was true or what felt off. And if you trust yourself enough, then you'll be able to get back to trusting yourself to discard that which is not a card you need to keep in your hand. And information is how we are informed, and ation is to make a mental construct real as a suffix. And that's how we heal. Or we thought. Maybe though, we just needed to get out of the boxes that we have thought to be security and step back into what it means to be free without having freedom, to the level that we would be captured by the domain that we were claimed within in order to be free in the first place there. This is where titles and the entrapments of mental constructs come into the fore. And if you want more of this, I need some support in order to share it. And I've got to make this more private. And so I've been navigating this online forum delicately, because this account is my name's sake, and yet it can be removed at any time because I don't own it. It's on a platform that is not mine. I just created a profile to be filed into. And the same is true for you with all of your accounts, that maybe you've gotten a lot of identity crisis or identity credit from. The crisis is when we lose that, which is what we're afraid of. So I just wanted to bring this message about relativity to you, because in the scheme of things, everything is relative. But even still, we don't need to define ourselves by what we are in relation to another in the way that we have previously. We don't need to take on the titles that would change our identity to then only reflect that which we are in relation to another. To recognize we can be in relation to another and have relations with another without that defining us. And I believe that's what we're shifting out of and into as we move out of Hiero's prism, as I refer to the matrix control system that is based on la maison d'être, where we become debtors to one another because we can't weather the storms on our own if we're the captain to a ship that lacks a crew or passengers to pay for the trip, which refers to the interlocking trust system, if you didn't catch that. And if you don't know anything about that, well, then it would be good for us to connect. And Peaceful Inner Warriors United Assembly on Telegram is where I have been sharing the most over the last few years. And it's also a free community where there is a lot of value that is exchanged between one another because we keep it convid free. So we don't talk about COVID and all of its drama. And we don't bring the cryptos in because the crypts are where the dead are kept, and that is the corporate realm. So you're invited to Telegram, and if you are interested in gaining access to me in a deeper way, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to actually get an email to know what this message meant to and for you, and what you'd like to do with it, or what you're trying to do in your own reality as to the public and private. And if you know more than I do, or if some of these pieces made sense for the puzzle that you've been working on, well, I'd love to connect so that we can actually get to the bottom of what we're all trying to do, which is level the playing field. And I shouldn't say we're all trying to do it, because those at the top have a long way to fall, and they're terrified of that. Those who have rose to the top have sacrificed a lot, including relationships close to them, in order to get there. So it's very dangerous to come back to the streets if you've created a lot of harm in those streets by leaving them and stepping on others who were reduced to the streets because of what you needed in order to get ahead. So figuring out how to resolve that which we didn't know how to solve in the first place between one another is really what I believe is the order of the day. And it doesn't mean it'll happen in the order that the transgressions occurred in. But what it does mean is that every step forward we can take in being accountable for our own acts and inactions, and how those in fact did impact others. We can be accountable without blaming, complaining, justifying our behaviors, but simply acknowledge what happened and own our part in it, and promise to do better with the intent to actually do better. It's the best that we can do. And others may judge us for it and hold our past against us, and that's their choice. They're welcome to lose access to us if they wish to, simply because they cannot forget what happened. They don't need to if we're willing to own it, and also acknowledge that we are working to do better intentionally. And I have a lot of compassion for those in the public who do have a lot to lose. And so as I put people on notice in these public positions, I want them to know too. I'm not going after them for any reason other than we've been participating in a fraudulent system that is causing harm to us all and needs to be resolved. So that's why I do what I do. And I look forward to getting results from actually doing that which I have been. So I hope this inspires you to take action in a new way or consider things in a new way. And I thank you for your team today. Time, energy, effort, attention, and money. Those are our team players. And I'm not asking for money, but if you wanted to work with me and actually have my assistance to move forward, then an equal energy exchange is required, which is the part that I've been leaving out as to why I have been on unsettled territory for a long time. I was just giving, in hopes that someone would recognize the value that I offer and then say, okay, Laura, yeah, I would love to collaborate or come together, and in order to have the energy investment that I put into people, then I'm willing to pay in order to gain access. And so not having a standard model of being able to work with someone by having a services with fees, I've screwed myself over in many ways, And yet at the same time, I've also connected with a lot of really great people, and I've added value as best as what I could. And I've been depleted because I wasn't asking for an equal exchange. So that's why I've changed how I show up. And I am still figuring out how to contribute in a way that allows me to play with others in a fun way that is impactful and meaningful. Whew! And the dog comes over. Hi, honey. So I think that's a perfect
Tucker, get down.
way to end
Come
this
on.
today. Thank you so much.